Hey, customers, welcome back to another episode of Fast Film, where we cover all the news and reviews just for you. This week, we're going to be covering September 10th through September 20th. So let's get into some trailers, Luis.
Hey, Percy Jackson. I love this boy. So Percy Jackson is getting a serious reboot starring Walker Scobell, who was in the Adam Project with my boy Ryan Reynolds. Never saw that shit, though. But not a big fan of Percy Jackson movies or stories, so I wasn't very thrilled with this trailer. It seems to be a younger version of Percy than the movie version, and he has to go across America to prevent a war against the Olympian gods. If you're into this type of stories, or if you're a fan of Percy Jackson, check it out on December 10th on Disney Plus, because I'm not going to be checking that shit out.
I think he's actually the right age in this versus the movies. He was too old.
I don't know. That's how big of a fan I am.
But another big like Disney Plus reboot of stuff from like children's books is Goosebumps is getting another reboot. This time starring, it's going to be a series starring Justin Long as like an evil English teacher that's releasing all the stuff from like the R.L. Stein books into this small town. There's 5 students that are at that high school that he works at that are going to be fighting against him. This is going to be coming to Disney Plus on October 13th.
Yeah, I saw the trailer too, and I kind of hated how they kept repeating Goosebumps from Travis Scott's Goosebumps song.
Oh, yeah.
They kept repeating it. And first of many Nick Cage to come up in this episode, we have Butcher's Crossing. So Nicolas Cage has another movie coming out soon. Butcher's Crossing, I believe, is Nick's first Western film. It's about an Ivy League dropout traveling Colorado, and he decides to join a group of buffalo hunters who's led by Nicolas Cage. Turns out Nicolas Cage is fucking crazy. Surprise. He's killing more buffalo than they can carry, and even his men are saying they need to stop, but no, Nick wants to keep going, and he's even threatening to kill his men if they don't continue. As a Nick Cage fan and a Western fan, I'm definitely interested in this one. I'm going to be checking it out when it releases, I think in select theaters on October 20th.
Cool. Then we got a trailer for it's going to be a short film written and directed by Wes Anderson. If you want to see us get into a Wes Anderson movie, there's an interview with me and Dennis Lehane where we cover the Grand Budapest Hotel, which is one of his movies. But this one's going to be starring Benedict Cumberbatch. We had the trailer for it this week. It's kind of a Roald Dahl story about a man that can see through objects and predict the future. This is going to be coming to Netflix on September 27th, and I believe it's the one of 5 that they're doing like this.
Isn't he also the guy that did Willy Wonka, like the original Roald Dahl?
Yeah, he's the writer of Willy Wonka. Well, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Sick. And another one, we have Totally Killer starring Kiernan Shipka, I think is her name, who's to bring a Netflix reboot of, and this is a slasher time traveling movie. It's a little weird. So the Sweet 16 killer who seems to be wearing a Max Headroom mask. For those, it was an old character back, I believe, in the 80s. And he returns 35 years after his first murder spree and attacks her. He attacks Kiernan, but as she fights him off in an arcade, they stab an arcade machine, causing her to time travel back to the 80s for some reason. Now it's up to her to stop the killer before he even starts. I feel like this movie's a mixture of like Hot Tub Time Machine, Back to the Future, and any slasher movie mixed together. But I'm totally down for it. It looks pretty good. I'm going to be checking it out on October 6th on Amazon Prime.
And then we got a trailer for another adult animated show that's coming to HBO. This one's being a direct spinoff of the Harley Quinn show. It's called Kite Man. Hell yeah. I know Kite Man became like a very popular like fan favorite character. He was Poison Ivy's like ex-fiance in Harley Quinn. I mean, it's kind of fun to see him getting his own show. He's a fucking dork. It's like a lot of fun. We don't have a release date for this one yet, but I'll definitely be checking it out when it hits HBO Max.
So Brie Larson and Apple TV have a new series, Lessons in Chemistry, releasing October 13th. Brie Larson is a chemist in the 50s who loves to cook, and after being fired from her job, she's offered another job pretty much right away. But this time it's a host for a cooking show. So she takes a job, and it has a chemistry theme to it, of course, because she's a chemist, and it becomes extremely popular amongst women. And also being in the 50s, there seems to be like political and racial events taking on in the background. I do like Brie Larson, and I do like cooking, so I'm pretty sure I'll be checking this one out.
Then we normally don't cover video game trailers on this show, but since this is one of the highest grossing movies of all time, there's going to be a game coming out called Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Kind of looks like a first-person shooter. We're going to be playing as a Na'vi. I mean, it looks pretty fun. I mean, the one Avatar game that was made before was kind of actually fun for how like stupid it was. It was actually a good time. This game looks pretty awesome. I don't think we've gotten any release date yet, but I'll probably get this when it comes out.
We should start reviewing video games.
Yeah, that's another video.
Yeah. All right. And from the creator of The Haunting of Hill House and many other horror movies and horror shows, Mike Flanagan has a new horror show, The Fall of the House of Usher. Mike obviously likes working with this cast because in everything he does, he pretty much has the same cast. And we have Mark Hamill joining in on this one. House of Usher is mainly based on Edgar Allan Poe's story of the same name, but it also uses other characters and references from different works of his. I'm excited for this one since I've been a big fan of the House of I forgot the name of it, but Haunting of Hill House. Yeah, I fucking brain farted the shit out of that one. But I'm definitely excited when this one comes out on Netflix, and it's gonna be out October 12th.
And then probably one of the bigger trailers we got this last week is going to be Aquaman 2. I mean, the movie looks all right. We got Jason Momoa, of course, returning as Aquaman. Black Manta is going to be our main villain again, wanting to kill Aquaman. He's going to bring his brother back from the first one. I mean, this movie's been in development hell. I think it was supposed to come out like 2 years ago, and they just keep trying to find a way to get this out. I don't even know where this is going to tie into the DCEU anymore because that's on its own fucking planet. So we'll see. I mean, I'm going to check this one out. The first one somehow made $1 billion. So we're definitely going to check this one out when it comes to theaters on December 20th. And then for headlines this week and more like superhero-ish news, Loki's been pushed back 3 days. It was supposed to be October 2nd. It's been pushed back to October 5th. I mean, it kind of makes a lot of sense since we got the finale of Ahsoka coming out. It was originally going to be the same day. So he pushed this back because I kind of hopefully learned their lesson with Miss Marvel and the Obi-Wan show. But that's going to be like October 5th now instead of the 2nd. So not a big deal.
Just 3 days more. Oh my god! Waited like over a year. Might as well wait 3 more days.
Yeah, like whatever.
And other not so good news. Russell Brand is accused of struggle huggle. He always seems like a piece of shit. Apparently, there is a lot of evidence of this, and I believe he even came out and addressed it before it fully came out. So he kind of tried to get a step ahead of it. But who knows? I mean, after all of this is coming out, we have a lot of different videos of creepy shit that he's been doing on camera, and the whole I think it was like a British version of like roasting where they were making fun of him as a predator, and to the point where he got mad, forced the producers to not allow it to be aired or something like that, I believe. But I don't know. Is Russell Brand going to be the new Danny Masterson of this year? We don't know. But yeah, doesn't seem very good for Russell Brand, which is horrible because I love Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
It is a good movie, but he's been like British's sex pest forever. And now it's like British sex pest accused of being British sex pest. Like, he's a fucking scumbag. He's always been a scumbag. So in other news, HBO is going to be canceling Winning Time. It's a great show. The first season's awesome. I can kind of understand canceling it now. It probably would have worked better as a miniseries, to be honest with you anyway. I mean, it's a good show, but it's probably time to end it anyway. Then for reviews this week and like more sports related kind of stuff, there was a documentary about Jason Kelce. For those of you who don't know who he is, he's the center of the Philadelphia Eagles and the brother to Travis Kelce, who's the tight end for the Chiefs. This documentary goes over how hard it is to be like a family man, the total football on like people on players' bodies, and kind of figuring out when is the right time to call it quits. He's been talking about retiring for the last couple of years. So watching this documentary where it's like really about him kind of thinking about retiring. It also covers last season, which kind of ends in one of the best ways where those who don't know about football, the Kelce brothers play each other in the Super Bowl last year. And we get who wins. Of course, the Chiefs end up winning the game. It's just a lot of fun. I'm a big fan of their podcast, New Heights. You can find that on YouTube. So I really enjoyed this documentary. It's definitely getting a dope from me. You can find it streaming on Amazon right now.
Wait, I just thought about it. Isn't Kelce the guy that gave Taylor Swift the friendship bracelet or something? I think
there's like a whole thing about Travis Kelce and her like talking. So
so it's the brother, not this one.
Yeah, it's not Jason Kelce's married with like kids. His brother's like kind of just out there like pimp, man. He's a player. He was in Tahoe in July, and I heard stories about him. So
dude, you were there for that.
Doing some fun, I guess. So.
All right. A Million Miles Away, starring Michael Peña, is another movie based on a real Mexican overcoming their struggles and becoming hugely successful, just like in Flamin' Hot. But in this one, Michael Peña portrays Jose Hernandez, who in real life is a real life astronaut. And as a child, he's very intelligent, but struggled with school a bit because him and his family would travel a lot to work in the field. So wherever they were needed, they would pretty much travel there, from picking like grapes to fucking like vegetables, corn, whatever, anything you could think of picking, they can pick it. And so they finally get fired pretty much from one of their jobs, and they decide to just stay put, settle down, let the kids get their knowledge. And he sees the moon landing. He sees that live on TV, and that's what gets him wanting to fully be an astronaut. So when he grows up, he goes to college, he graduates, he becomes an engineer, starts applying at NASA, but keeps getting rejected. And finally, one day he gets accepted. And from there, the movie turns into pretty much a training montage kind of thing, which is pretty cool, though. And he finally gets picked to go to space. And so at the same time, he's dealing with training to go to space and also dealing from being absent from his family, which is sad and all. But it's like, dude, you're going to space. Fuck it. Let's do it. But I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. Very good. Good to see a story about the first migrant who ever traveled space. Really enjoyed it. And this guy actually became an astronaut. He didn't create no fucking hot Cheetos. He became an astronaut. So that's a better story than hot Cheetos. But I'm giving this one a dope. Maybe I'm being a little bit biased because I'm Mexican, but I really did enjoy this one.
And then there's a new season starting on Hulu for Welcome to Wrexham. So this is all about Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney. They bought a fucking small like football club in England, and they kind of not only changed the whole club aspect, they changed the whole town around it. It almost feels like a real life Ted Lasso with all the stuff that's going on. So I mean, as a huge fan of Ted Lasso, I really enjoyed watching this first episode. It makes me want to even go back and watch the first season. I think if you don't like soccer, you'll still find something to like about this show. So you can find that first season streaming and a first couple episodes streaming on Hulu right now. This is definitely going to get a dope from me.
It's real life Ted Lasso with Deadpool and Mac.
Yeah, like it's Ted Lasso, but they're not coaches, they're owners. Like it's just more fun.
And they're going to release on Netflix over the weekend. And I'm gonna tell you guys straight up, this is a fucking nope from me. It took me 4 times to finish the movie. I constantly kept getting bored. So it took me a while to watch it. It got to the point where I would just put it on in the background while I'm stuck in traffic, just listening to it dubbed in English, just because I couldn't get into it. I would be watching it and I would just kind of start dozing off. But so the movie is about Pinochet. Turns out to be a vampire. And if you don't know Pinochet, I believe he was like a dictator about like 50 years ago or so. And he's lived for 250 years. And now he decides he finally wants to die. He's done pretty much living. And I feel like as anyone that's lived like an eternal life, you kind of gets to a point where you just don't want to do this shit no more. But he has 6 adult kids, a wife, and a butler. And they're all worried that when he dies, they're going to get no money since they're all poor. They live in a desert, but they keep saying that they're king and queens of the land. So I couldn't really tell if they were really king and queen of the land or if they're just fucking crazy. But all of a sudden, Pinochet remembers that he has a hidden treasure that he had forgotten about. So the kids decide to hire an accountant to help find the money. But she also turns out to be a nun that was hired by the kids to either exorcise the devil out of him or kill him. So when the nun decides to try to exorcise him, she just quits and decides to fuck him. It's fucking weird. Just it feels like it wants to be artsy. After they have sex, he bites her and she turns into a vampire. Then we have a 5-minute fucking scene of her flying around with like orchestra music playing in the background. It's fucking stupid. This movie sucked. It's a nope. Don't check it out.
So the third movie in the Perot series that are all been directed by Kenneth Branagh and starring him, released this week in theaters. This one called A Haunting in Venice. Like most great murder mystery movies, it has a fantastic cast with some people shining in this one, Tina Fey and Michelle Yeoh, who just coming off her Oscar win. Unlike the other 2 movies, this one has more like horror elements where part of us is like not sure if anything's real that's going on, if it's actually horror or not. Adding in these horror elements like worked pretty well because it kind of puts Perot back into more like us where he doesn't know if it's real or not, and he's like an intelligent person, but he, there's a part of you that makes you scared no matter what. So I think it works out really well with this. Plus it's beautiful scenery doing all this in Venice. There's a lot of like pretty shots and stuff. But I still think I like Knives Out more like like these kind of murder mystery movies, and I like Benoit Blanc as a character a little bit more, but this movie's still going to get a dope from me.
This one really caught my attention too because I never really wanted to watch what is it, Murder on the Orient Express, and then the previous one, Death on the Nile.
Yeah, Death on the Nile is the second one.
Yeah, but this one looked pretty good just because it had a horror thing behind it, so it looked pretty interesting.
Yeah, it makes it fun with like not knowing if it's actually happening, and even him as like somebody who's supposed to be super intelligent is like falling for it.
What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, so it kind of works a little well to like evolve the character a little bit more,
Yeah. And also, we had Walking Dead's newest spinoff, Daryl Dixon. It's 2 episodes in already, but I got to catch the first one. I was mostly confused since I haven't finished The Walking Dead, and that show already ended, but I haven't finished it. So I had really no clue how Daryl ended up in France. I mean, I guess they kind of do. He did mention that he went out looking for something and ran into bad guys who put him on a boat and he escaped, and now he's in France. So I guess that does explain it, but I'm just kind of wondering why? Like, what is he out there looking for? Or if it's someone that he's looking for. I'm not quite sure. The show is set in France, so that does mean there's a lot of French spoken in it. So pretty much half the episode's dialogue isn't French. So of course there's going to be subtitles, which I would always forget. I would get up to go get a drink, and I would have to rush back and rewind it just because I forgot. And I started hearing French people talking in my living room. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? But no, it's half in French. One of the bad guys in this does have a Mike Tyson style face tattoo, so that kind of is pretty hilarious in it. There's nuns with medieval weapons who are protecting a boy who's supposed to be the Messiah that cures the world's sickness. And now Daryl has to pretty much escort him and a couple nuns because they think he's going to save the world. It's pretty good so far. I do enjoy it. I have been a fan of the Walking Dead episodes, so I am going to be checking this out. But it is a little weird because at the end it does kind of show Daryl starting to pray when they do like the upcoming in the season kind of clips. He's praying in the background. So I'm like, is he going to become a religious man? But so far, it's a dope. I'm going to be checking this out. It looks pretty good. And we got some deep cuts coming up. It's pretty much a Nick Cage episode.
Yeah, we're kind of doing Nick Cage for deep cuts. I mean, my first original thing was, since The Expendables coming out this week, I'm going to pick a movie that's got like all these 90s stars. So I picked Con Air, which is probably a movie I've seen way too many times, especially when I was a kid. It was always on TBS or TNT. For those that somehow don't know what this movie's all about, it's about Con Air, which is like when they need to transport convicts to different prisons like further away, so they put them on a plane all together. Of course, this plane's filled with like the most notorious criminals known to man in this one. And then and we have Nick Cage's character, who's a former Army Ranger who's been arrested on like some of the most bullshit manslaughter charges I've ever seen in a movie. It's really bad. But with all these criminals, it's him trying to fight them while they hijack the plane. I mean, we have a great cast here with Ving Rhames, John Malkovich, Steve Buscemi. It's a little bit like Die Hard even, because it's like him trying to fight these criminals without them knowing he's like fighting them. So I mean, I'm a sucker for Die Hard movies anyway. I mean, you could definitely like check this one out. It's awesome. It's a cheesy 90s movie that's so much fun. It's a classic for me, so I've watched it way too many times. It's streaming right now on AMC Plus, or you can rent it on Amazon for like $4. So it's worth buying. I think it's like $7. Like, it's worth having. It's a great Sunday movie. It's a Sunday movie.
It's a movie you turn on USA and it's on.
It's just always on, and it's like, yeah, I'll fucking watch Con Air.
They know to put it on Sundays afternoon because all the old guys are sitting down on the couch.
Yep.
All right, and for my Nick Cage episode, I'm picking The Rock. So Nick Cage is a chemist who now has a team up with an ex-con who happens to be Sean Connery, and they're now leading a Counter-Strike team to take out a military group of men run by Ed Harris, who has taken over Alcatraz with biochemicals threatening to attack San Francisco. This is a classic movie. It has a dope-ass car scene where they're driving through the city in a fucking Hummer. They're crashing through everything. I think they go to Chinatown and shit. It's insane. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it or if you want to catch it again, check it out on AMC Plus. But once again, customers, thanks for tuning into this week's episode. Let us know your thoughts and comments on any of the reviews or topics we brought up today. And I guess we have some minor big news. This weekend of September 22nd to 24th, the cinema crew will be together for the first time in years. The three of us have not been together in one room since what?
Since I moved to Tahoe, so like 6 years ago.
8 years? Yeah, around there. But so we're going to be at the first ever Lake Tahoe Comic-Con. It's going to be interesting. We're going to see what happens. If you're in town this weekend, come check us out at our booth this weekend or try running into us at a bar. We'll make sure Randy buys you a beer.